Your silence made more noise than their gossip ever could, and now they're scared of the echo. Now imagine this for a moment, chosen one. A snake charmer steps into the middle of a circle, surrounded by danger, venom, and whispers of death. But instead of flinching, he locks eyes with the serpent, plays his tune, and suddenly the predator becomes hypnotized, powerless, exposed. That's exactly how your presence affects the people around you. You didn't need to bite. You didn't need to hiss. Just by standing there, calm and composed, you flipped the power dynamic. They wanted to strike, but you made them look foolish just by breathing. Your silence, your stillness, it became their undoing. And here's a fact to let sink in. Psychologists say people often project their own guilt and insecurities onto those who trigger them. So if you're finding people are suddenly uncomfortable around you, trying to provoke you or stalking you in secret, that's not paranoia. That's projection. You've become the mirror, and people hate what they see when they stand too close to someone who's healed. It's not just that they're watching you, it's that they can feel something inside of you brewing, something ancient, sharp, and strategic, and it makes them itch with fear. And thank you, chosen one, for being here right now. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe to help spread this light to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to share the truth and protect each other on this journey. You are not alone. You're part of a force, a rising current, a quiet revolution of those who were once underestimated but now walk with unshakable knowing. Thank you, chosen one, for being a part of this mission. Now let's talk about why they're truly spooked. You don't move like the rest. You don't react when provoked. You don't fall into emotional traps. And when they tried to bait you into chaos, you stepped right over it like it was dust. People don't know how to read you anymore, and that's the point. You've outgrown their predictable games. You've become something they can't predict, can't manipulate, and definitely can't dominate. They wanted to paint you as weak, unstable, or sensitive, but instead, you ended up being the one with the sword. They came for war, and you showed them spiritual warfare. You turned the game into chess, and they didn't even know they were on the board. What terrifies them the most is that you carry something they can't explain. You might not have millions in the bank or armies at your back, but the universe bends when you move. They feel the shift in the air when you enter a room. They pretend not to see it, but their body reacts before their mind catches up. Goosebumps, throat tightens, palms sweat. That's spiritual recognition and fear. They may call you names behind closed doors, but deep down, they know they're standing in front of someone who can't be fooled, someone who's been through fire and came out cold, precise, and unbothered. They thought you'd beg for validation. Instead, you vanished and let your absence haunt them. They thought you'd clap back with anger. Instead, you responded with elegance and let karma do the dirty work. The more they watched, the more afraid they became, not because you threatened them, but because you didn't have to. Your strength is quiet, your power is still, and that unnerves them more than any outburst ever could. You see, chosen one, people aren't used to someone who refuses to play the game. Most people can be poked, triggered, or baited, but not you. You learned the art of restraint. You mastered the power of knowing that not every attack deserves a response, and that's why they see you now as the snake charmer. Someone who walks among danger and never gets bitten. Someone who hypnotizes even the haters. Someone who doesn't just survive the setup, but flips it into a spotlight moment. And what's brewing inside you? Oh, they feel it. They don't know whether it's your next move, your rise, your glow-up, or your calling, but they feel something coming. That's why they're watching so close. That's why you've been showing up in their dreams, in their conversations, in their search history. You've become their curiosity and their fear all in one. And here's what they hate the most. No matter how much they try to figure you out, you keep becoming more unreadable, more powerful, and more untouchable. They're not just spooked by your presence, they're haunted by your potential, and they should be, because the more they try to dim your light, the more you absorb it and shine brighter. The more they gossip, the more they amplify your name. The more they envy, the more energy you're gifted. You're not just walking through life anymore. You're walking with a cosmic spotlight on your back, and even when you try to dim it, they still squint when you pass. So yes, people are spooked by you. And it's not because you're evil, it's because you carry a force that makes the wicked reveal themselves. Your very presence separates the real from the fake, the loyal from the opportunist, the healed from the hidden. And now that they've been exposed by your light, they can't pretend anymore. That's why they're scared. That's why they stalk you in silence. And that's why the next part of this message will reveal just how deep this fear runs and what's about to happen next. And listen closely, Chosen One. What you just heard, that was only the spark before the storm. The full picture, the reason they can't stop watching you, the reason your energy keeps them up at night, is about to unfold step by step. So, stay close, because what's coming next isn't just information, it's confirmation. If you've ever wondered why they stare, why they whisper, why they fear you without cause, this message was carved out of the fire for you. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you're done shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. And if this message speaks to your bones, consider sending a super thanks to support the creators behind this mission, because these aren't just words, this is warfare in plain sight. And your support fuels the continuation of these truths being brought into the light. And now, let's dive into this, layer by layer. You'll want to hear every part, because if you're truly one of the chosen, your spirit won't let you walk away mid-message. You'll feel it pulling you, holding you, speaking directly to your path. This isn't just a breakdown of why they fear you, it's a blueprint for why you were never meant to be ordinary. Let's get started. Number 1. They tried to trap you, but you flipped the script. The worst mistake they made wasn't trying to trap you, it was thinking you didn't know the game better than they did. You see, Chosen One, they planned to humiliate you. They plotted in the dark, smiling in your face while planting landmines behind your every step. They thought they were slick. They thought they'd get away with it. But here's what they underestimated. Your awareness is decades beyond your age. You don't just see people, you read them. You hear what's not being said. You sense tension in silence. And before they even laid the trap, you already saw the string, the bait, and the shaking hand that set it up. You let them think you were walking into it, and then you flipped the entire script. You didn't just survive the setup, you turned it into their downfall. Now they're the ones exposed, unraveling, paranoid, and embarrassed. This is the power of being chosen. Your setbacks are scripted by the universe to look like losses until they flip into victories that shame the enemy in public. That's the divine twist they can't handle. It's like trying to drown a phoenix, only to watch it rise brighter from the water. Your enemies thought they were clever, but clever doesn't win against spiritually equipped, not against someone like you. Because you weren't just defending yourself, You were exposing something much deeper, their insecurities, their fear of your growth, their envy of your silence, and their terror of your comeback. Now imagine this, chosen one. A mouse is led into a trap, cheese placed perfectly in reach. But the moment the enemy goes to close the trap, it's the hunter's fingers that get crushed. Why? Because what they didn't realize was that mouse had outgrown fear. That mouse had seen the trap before, and this time it was ready. You've become the soul that doesn't get fooled twice. They underestimated you because you looked soft, kind, unbothered. But what they didn't realize was, you were trained by betrayal. You were educated by lies. You graduated from Manipulation University with honors. You've seen enough fake smiles and subtle sabotage to write volumes. So now, when they come for you, they don't just lose, they get exposed publicly, and that, chosen one, is why they fear you now. Let's talk facts. Neuroscientists have found that emotionally intelligent people pick up micro-expressions faster than others. That means your intuition, it's not imaginary, it's psychological muscle. So when you feel someone's energy shift, or when someone suddenly switches up their tone, your brain is processing hundreds of signals in seconds. They think you're being paranoid, but no, you're just aware. You're wired to survive traps before they're even set. That's why they can't stand you, because every move they make, you're already 10 ahead. You let them think they were winning, just so the fall would sting more. Think about some of the greatest figures the world's ever seen: Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, Joan of Arc, Muhammad Ali. What did they all have in common? They were set up, betrayed, plotted against, misunderstood. And yet they didn't just survive, they changed history. And that's the lineage you come from, chosen one. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to be easy to defeat. Every setup was secretly part of your initiation. Every trap they designed became a test you passed with silence, precision, and poise. And the moment they thought you were finished, you rose again, sharper than before. Let me ask you this. Why do you think they're watching you harder now after the fallout? Why is it that the same people who tried to play you are suddenly quiet, awkward, avoiding eye contact, or worse, still trying to provoke you? Because deep down, they know they lost. They know they were seen. And what kills them the most is that you didn't even have to fight dirty. You let the universe handle it. You let their own behavior be the proof. And now, people are side-eyeing them instead of you. You flipped the script by not reacting like they expected. You didn't cry where they hoped you would. You didn't rage where they baited you. You kept your posture. You kept your mind. And in that stillness, you exposed their chaos. That's something they'll never recover from, because you didn't just win. You made them question themselves. You made them look in the mirror and hate what they saw. And now, every time they remember what they tried to do to you, it's not pride they feel, it's shame. This is what being chosen looks like. It's not about loud victories or flashy revenge. It's about letting people hang themselves with the very rope they brought for you. It's about letting your integrity outshine their manipulation. And when the dust settles, when the masks fall, and when the truth echoes back louder than the lies, they're the ones standing in a mess they made for you. Except now, it's all on them. Publicly, undeniably. Don't ever feel bad for not clapping back. Don't regret not exposing every detail, because what's coming next for you is elevation, and what's coming for them, consequences, deep ones, spiritual ones, the kind that play out in front of everybody. That's why they've gone quiet. That's why they're keeping tabs. They thought you were the one who'd break, but now they're watching their own world crack. And the more they try to understand how you slipped through the net, the more confused and terrified they become. They set the trap, chosen one. but you became the twist in the story they never saw coming. And now they're the ones stuck in the very chaos they created for you. Keep walking with your head high. Let your footsteps echo like a warning, because the next time they even think about testing you, they'll remember how badly it backfired the first time. And trust me, they won't have the stomach for it again. Number 2. The devil lost his grip when you stopped reacting. They weren't ready for the day you stopped flinching, because that was the day their power ended. They expected you to crack. They thought they had you pegged as the emotional one, the overreactor, the too sensitive one they could bait whenever they wanted to feel superior. But something changed. The day you chose silence, overreaction, the devil lost his grip. And make no mistake, they felt it instantly. That silence wasn't empty. It was a warning. It was a shift in power. And for the first time, they realized they couldn't control you anymore. You used to respond to every jab. You'd defend yourself when they twisted your words. You'd raise your voice when they painted you wrong. You gave them what they needed, a reaction. But now they're left with nothing. You sit there calm, unbothered, eyes steady, and that terrifies them more than any rage ever could. Because now they don't know what you're thinking. Now they don't know how to control the narrative. And now they're battling a version of you they never prepared for. A version with emotional control so sharp, it slices through manipulation like a sword through fog. Imagine a boxer trained to fight noise, screaming crowds, wild swings, chaotic movement. Then one day, their opponent walks in completely still. No trash talk, no unnecessary motion, just precise, focused silence. The entire arena shifts. The power dynamic flips. That's you, chosen one. You're not fighting noise anymore. You are the silence. You are the tension in the room. And the moment they realize you don't need to respond, that's the moment their game crumbles. Here's a fact for your soul. Studies in behavioral psychology show that people who remain emotionally unreactive during confrontation hold a stronger psychological edge. Their lack of reaction forces the other person to confront themselves because there's no distraction, no chaos, no loophole to escape through. That's what you've become. A mirror that doesn't break when thrown at. A stillness that makes their guilt echo louder than any insult. You're no longer tangled in their games. You're above them, and they know it. They wanted you to scream so they could call you unstable. They wanted you to cry so they could label you weak. They wanted you to lash out so they could play victim. But instead, you gave them stillness. And in that stillness, they met themselves. That's the moment everything shifted, because now they're stuck with their own reflection, and they hate what they see. That's what silence does. It turns the table without lifting a finger. Do you want proof this power works? Look at any powerful figure in history, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, even modern icons like Michelle Obama. When they go low, we go high. Why does that echo so hard? Because restraint is power. Self-mastery is terrifying to those who can't control themselves. And you, chosen one, have mastered something they never will. Detachment from their noise. Let's go deeper. Why does silence scare them so much? Because silence gives them nothing to twist. No screenshots, no gossip, no evidence, and most importantly, no access. When you react, they feel in control, but when you stop reacting, they feel exposed. Your lack of reaction becomes its own kind of confrontation, one they can't escape from. That's why they keep testing you. That's why they push harder, act weirder, get louder, because they're trying to provoke the old you, the version that used to hand them power just by replying. But that version died the moment you realized silence is a response, and not just a response, a weapon. Here's the wildest part. Some of them didn't even want to hurt you at first. They were just addicted to the power of being able to shake you. It made them feel big, important, like they had control. But once you pulled that power back, once you refused to flinch, they were left face to face with their own weakness. And in that moment, they became obsessed. Because you didn't just stop reacting, you broke the cycle. You took back every ounce of energy they stole from you, and now they don't know who they are without your reactions. So if you're wondering why they're still watching you, still poking from a distance, still talking about you when you've gone completely silent, it's because your silence is louder than their noise ever was. They lost control, and you never even told them out loud. That's the kind of power that makes people unravel. That's the kind of growth that separates chosen ones from everyone else. And I know what you might be thinking, but what if they think I'm weak now? What if my silence is being taken as submission? Let me stop you right there. Weakness is yelling just to be heard. Weakness is reacting just to feel alive. Strength is knowing you could destroy them and choosing not to. Strength is letting their karma do the talking while you walk away with your peace intact. And trust me, they know the difference. They see it. They feel it. That's why they're nervous now. Because the real threat isn't someone who fights back. It's someone who no longer needs the fight. And that's who you are now. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them closure. And you definitely don't owe them another moment of your energy. You've graduated. You're no longer responding. You're evolving. And while they're still trying to poke holes in your peace, you're building something they can't even comprehend. That's why the devil lost his grip the moment you stopped reacting, because he knew you weren't just healing, you were rising. So let them talk. Let them twist the story. Let them whisper in circles. Your silence will scream louder than their gossip ever could. And when they realize you're not coming back to the old battlefield, that you've moved on to a higher war they can't even reach, they'll feel it in their bones. You didn't just stop reacting. You ended the game. And now they're the only ones still playing it. Number 3. Your logic cut deeper than their chaos. They called you quiet because they couldn't hear your strategy. Now they're bleeding from wounds they never saw coming. They played loud, you played smart. While they scrambled to create chaos, you were calmly constructing your next 10 moves in silence. They thought they had you confused, tangled in their drama, lost in their mind games. But they forgot one thing, chosen one. You don't operate on emotion, you operate on precision. While they were busy performing, you were observing. While they were trying to draw attention, you were collecting patterns. And when the time came to move, you didn't scream, you didn't swing wildly. You made one decisive cut, and it ended everything. Your logic cut deeper than any insult they threw. Why? Because they thrive off confusion, disorder, and emotional reactions. But you don't give them any of that. You give them silence, strategy, and outcomes they can't argue with. They want chaos, because chaos makes people easy to control. But you don't get pulled into it anymore. That's what scares them most. They know you're not the one to bluff. You don't bark, you act. And when you act, there's no coming back from it. Let's break this down. Studies in conflict resolution show that people who can remain logical under pressure almost always win in power dynamics. Why? Because emotion clouds judgment. But logic cuts. That's what you mastered. You stopped trying to prove yourself. You stopped justifying your worth to people who weren't even qualified to be in your presence. You let your results speak. You let the silence become your sharpest weapon. And now, they're stunned. Because all that energy they wasted trying to trap you was no match for a single move made in clarity. And you know what's making them spiral now. The fact that you saw them before they ever saw themselves. They thought you were naive. They thought your kindness was a weakness. But what they didn't know was every kind move you made was measured. You weren't weak. You were giving them rope, and now they're hanging by it, wondering how it all flipped so fast. So if you're wondering why they still linger, still try to provoke, still talk in circles around your name, it's because they know deep down they were outplayed. And not by luck, not by chance, but by design. You didn't just win, you planned it. The universe stood behind you the whole time, holding the light steady while you stepped out of their storm and into your power. Let them drown in their drama. Your clarity already wrote the ending. Number 4. They tested your peace and lost to your power. They thought poking your peace would trigger chaos. Instead, they triggered their own destruction. They underestimated the storm that hides inside your silence. They thought you were soft because you were still, thought you were weak because you didn't swing first. But what they didn't realize, chosen one, is that peace isn't passivity. It's power under control. It's the ability to feel everything and still choose nothing. And when they tested that peace, when they pressed every button and whispered every insult hoping to see you crack, you didn't just stay calm. You exposed them because your calm was never weakness. It was strategy. It was strength. It was war without noise. They wanted you to snap, to scream, to lash out so they could point and say, "See, that's who they really are." But instead, your silence echoed, and in that echo, they broke. Your refusal to react made them reveal their own instability. You held your ground while they lost theirs, and now everyone sees it. Because here's the truth, when you stop reacting, people start revealing. And when you protect your peace, the insecure see it as a threat. You ever wonder why your calm presence makes people so uncomfortable? It's because it reflects what they can't control. Chaos thrives on response, but when you give it nothing, it starves. They didn't know how to handle that. Your emotional discipline stripped them bare. You didn't argue. You let the facts speak. You didn't attack. You let their behavior crumble under its own weight. And while they were unraveling, blaming, projecting, you were walking away without a scratch. There's a quote that says, "Don't wrestle with pigs. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it." You understood that early. You chose elevation instead of ego. And that choice burned them, because nothing makes an insecure person panic faster than being ignored by the one they tried to control. You didn't deny their chaos. You just refused to absorb it. You gave them back their poison without ever touching it. So let them call you cold, let them call you distant. That's just what it sounds like when emotional manipulators lose access to their favorite target. You're not cold, you're clear, you're not distant, you're detached, and your peace, that's your shield, that's your throne. And they couldn't shake it because it was never built on their approval. They tested your peace and ended up facing a power they couldn't provoke. Number 5. You carried dignity through the fire they lit. They lit the fire to watch you burn, but you walked through it with grace, and now the smoke carries your name while their ashes go forgotten. They thought the fire would break you. They wanted to watch you fall apart in front of everyone, publicly, painfully, and permanently. That was the goal. They lit it with rumors. They fed it with betrayal. They fanned the flames with mockery and silence. They wanted to see you beg, unravel, explode. But instead, you stood. You didn't beg. You didn't flinch. You walked straight through the chaos with dignity in your eyes and silence on your lips. And that silence, that calm, collected energy, It destroyed them more than any explosion ever could. Chosen One, they didn't plan for you to survive with your head high. They didn't expect you to carry grace in the same hands they tried to break. They set the stage for your downfall and accidentally wrote your legend instead. Because the truth is, anyone can be loud in the storm, but it takes real power to walk through hell and not let it touch your character. You didn't just survive their fire, you mastered it, and now they're choking on the smoke, the same smoke that rose when you refused to bow, when you refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing you act out of character. They thought dignity was weakness. They thought silence was surrender. But here's what they missed. Self-control is the final stage of power. You didn't keep quiet because you were weak. You kept quiet because the truth didn't need your defense. It was already working in the background. And the universe made sure everyone saw it. Ask yourself, why did they get louder the calmer you became? Why did they team up while you stood alone? Because even in your isolation, you made them feel threatened. That's what real presence does. It speaks without needing to shout. You made them look foolish not by clapping back, but by refusing to lower yourself to their level. And now they're stuck, embarrassed and confused, asking, why didn't it work? Here's the answer. Because you're not made of what they are. You're built from something purer, stronger, untouchable. And the fire they lit, it couldn't consume you because you were never theirs to destroy. You carried your dignity through the fire and came out shining while they disappeared in smoke. Number 6, you don't need revenge. The universe does it for you. You didn't ruin them, the universe did, right after they aimed for you. They thought your silence meant surrender, that walking away was weakness, that your lack of revenge meant you lost. But now they're learning the hard way. Your absence wasn't retreat, it was alignment. You stopped clapping back, and the universe started clapping louder. You didn't fight dirty because you didn't have to. The moment you stepped out of the way, their own energy swung back and hit them like a freight train. And that impact? It's not a coincidence, it's cause and effect. Chosen One, what they don't understand is that you walk with an invisible protection they can't decode. While they were busy scheming in secret, mocking you behind screens, wishing for your downfall, you were being upgraded in silence. They threw shadows, but light surrounded you. They sent energy to block you, but that same energy boomeranged back and tore holes in their lives. They're breaking down now, and their confusion is deafening. They're asking, why is everything going wrong for me lately? And the answer is simple. Because they played with someone the universe doesn't play about. There's a saying, the universe doesn't ignore energy. It just waits for the right time to respond. And oh, Chosen One, the timing has been perfect. The same people who laughed when you were hurting are now choking on their own karma. It's subtle, it's delayed, but it hits surgically. Friendships falling apart, money drying up, peace disappearing, some even facing public exposure. And all of it came after they tried to throw dirt on your name. You didn't have to throw a punch. All you had to do was let go, and the universe handled the rest. You ever notice how their confidence dropped after you walked away? How they started watching you harder? That's fear, not of you, but of what follows you. They've seen enough to know now. You're not protected by luck. You're protected by alignment. You don't seek revenge because you are the proof that justice exists. Your glow-up is the clapback. Your peace is the punishment. Your silence is the storm. And the worst part for them? They can't undo what they did. It's written. And now the universe is simply reading it back to them. So keep walking, Chosen One. Don't turn around. Don't waste your time explaining what's already being proven. You never needed revenge. The universe never misses. Number 7. You wore the crown in silence. Now they bow without asking. They used to laugh behind your back. Now they lower their eyes when you walk in the room. You never had to beg for respect. You earned it in silence. While they mocked you, doubted you, and underestimated every step you took, you were quietly transforming. You didn't clap back. You didn't try to prove yourself. You just became undeniable. And now, the same ones who once looked down on you are looking up, pretending they never had anything to say. They feel it now, that presence, that pressure, that shift in the atmosphere when you enter a room. You don't need a title. You are the title. You wore the crown in silence, and now they bow without asking. Chosen one, this is what happens when someone builds themselves in the dark. They wanted to see you sweat, stumble, beg for attention, but you chose to move differently. While they were shouting, you were sharpening. While they were gossiping, you were glowing. And now they're realizing you don't have to say you're chosen. Your aura screams it louder than words ever could. Your silence burns them because it reminds them they were wrong about you. And nothing haunts a fragile ego like watching someone they belittled become someone they now fear. Let me give you a fact. In sociology, power is often recognized not by what someone says, but how others respond to them without being told. That's you now. The ones who used to cut you off mid-sentence are now quiet in your presence. The ones who gossiped about you are now following your every move. They don't say it publicly, but behind closed doors. They speak your name with caution. They ask questions. They study you. They wonder how you did it, how you stayed calm, how you kept your dignity, how you turned nothing into sovereignty. But here's the part they'll never admit. They need your energy now. That's why they linger. That's why they orbit. You became what they never expected, a force. You don't ask for loyalty. You don't demand recognition. And yet, you get both. Because real power doesn't chase validation, it attracts it. And your crown? It was never placed by man. It was revealed by pressure. So don't be surprised when the same mouths that mocked you start speaking your name with respect. You didn't just change the narrative, you became the story. And now, silence is your throne, and power is your presence. Let them bow. You earned it. Number 8. Your energy exposes everything they hide. You didn't need to expose their secrets. Your energy made them confess without a word. You walk into the room and the atmosphere shifts, not because you're loud, not because you're trying, but because your energy is undeniable and unforgiving. You don't say much, but everything hidden inside them starts crawling to the surface, like it's being dragged into the light. You don't dig, you don't accuse, you don't interrogate. You exist, and that's enough to shatter their fake smiles, crack their masks, and pull their skeletons from the closet. They call you intense, but what they really mean is you make them uncomfortable in their own skin. Your energy is a spotlight, a lie detector, a spiritual X-ray, and that's exactly why they avoid you, but can't stop watching you. It's not about hate, it's about exposure. Being in your presence forces them to feel everything they've buried, every lie they told, every mask they wore, every wound they never healed. It rises up like smoke from a fire they swore was out. But you didn't even light the match. You just walked in, and their conscience did the rest. Why do they feel this way around you? Because you carry the kind of vibration that demands truth. That's why narcissists can't stand you. That's why liars get twitchy around you. That's why the fake ones whisper your name, but never come too close. They know something's different. Something sees through them. And it's not just you, it's the force you walk with. The universe made you a walking mirror, and when people stand in front of you, they don't just see you. They see everything they've been hiding from themselves. And here's the kicker: you didn't ask for this. You didn't choose to be a soul that reveals. But now that you've grown into your power, it's happening whether you try or not. That's why old friends fell off. That's why certain family members keep their distance. That's why strangers either cling to you or recoil instantly. Your energy has no in-between. It either heals or exposes. And for some, exposure is worse than pain. So let them avoid you. Let them talk. Let them stalk you online while pretending you don't exist. They're not obsessed with you. They're obsessed with what you make them feel. You didn't hurt them. You just made them feel what they've been trying to numb. You didn't ruin them. You just made them realize they were never built on truth to begin with. And that's why you're powerful. That's why they can't unsee you. Because now their shadows have faces, and your energy was the mirror. Number 9. They envy your future before you even step into it. They're jealous of what hasn't even happened yet, because deep down they know you're the storm forming on the horizon. Chosen one, they see something coming before you even do. You might be standing in silence, trying to figure out your next move, feeling broke, exhausted or uncertain, but they're shaking. And not because of who you are right now, but because of who you're becoming. Your energy carries a forecast they can't ignore. They look at you and feel it in their gut. This one's about to take off. They don't know when, they don't know how, but it's written all over your aura. You walk like the future is watching. You speak like the next chapter is already turning. And they envy it, not because you have it all, but because they know it's only a matter of time until you do. And that's the problem for them, because they've done everything they could to count you out. They've whispered doubts, dismissed your ideas, laughed behind your back, but somehow you're still standing. You're still moving, still glowing, still chosen, and that alone eats at them. Because the truth is, they need you to fail. They need you to stay stuck so they can feel like they made the right choice by giving up on themselves. But you refuse to fold. Even when you're tired, even when you're doubting, you keep showing up. And that kind of resilience, that's terrifying to someone who quit on themselves a long time ago. Here's a hard fact: potential is magnetic. There are people out there living decent lives, making money, chasing attention, but they hate you because you have something they don't, an untapped future, something they can't measure, can't predict, can't steal. That's why they stalk your progress. That's why they copy your energy. That's why they pretend not to care, but secretly compete with your every move. They can feel the shift before it hits. They can feel the spotlight about to swing in your direction. They sense the universe positioning things in your favor, and it scares them. You ever notice how the hate gets louder when you're the quietest? That's not random. That's the enemy panicking, because in your silence, they feel the build-up, the storm, the tension, the quiet before the breakthrough. They talk louder when you're focused because your growth exposes their stagnation. You're still evolving, still dreaming, still rising. And they know, once you find your rhythm, once you hit your stride, you'll be unstoppable. So if you've ever felt like people are mad at you for no reason, trust me, there is a reason. You're a walking preview of the future they gave up on. You're living proof that greatness doesn't start with applause. It starts with pressure. And the pressure on your life right now, it's not punishment, it's prophecy, it's preparation. It's the universe fine-tuning you, because what's coming must be built on a solid foundation. Let them envy, let them obsess, because even their hatred is just confirmation. You're not finished, you're just loading, and the sound of your future is already louder than their doubt. Number 10. Your presence disrupts the room, even when you try to hide. You don't have to speak to shake a room. Your presence says what your silence never will. They don't know why they tense up when you walk in. They don't understand why their words get clumsy, why their laughter fades, why their body language shifts like they've just been caught in a lie. But you know, chosen one. You've seen it too many times to ignore it now. You could be wearing the most unbothered look, eyes low, hoodie up, staying quiet in the corner, and still the air changes the second you step into the space. You don't do anything special. You just exist. But your energy, it speaks volumes. Your frequency is so high, it scrambles theirs. Your presence disrupts the illusions they've built, and suddenly everyone feels seen, even if you never glance their way. They say energy doesn't lie, and yours proves it. You don't have to announce who you are. You don't have to wear success, power, or validation on your sleeve. What you carry inside you is louder than any words, stronger than any title. It's the kind of presence that whispers truth, and truth always makes the fake uncomfortable. That's why they get quiet when you show up. That's why the room shifts. Your glow is not just light, it's pressure, and people feel it even when you're trying to hide. You ever wonder why you're the one they watch, even when you're doing nothing? Why they throw shade when you haven't even spoken? It's because your energy reveals their insecurity. You remind them of what they're not, of what they abandoned, of who they pretend to be. You walk in carrying everything they try to fake, and that shakes them deeply, because no matter how much attention they demand, it's always your stillness that commands the room. Here's the truth most won't admit. The ones most disturbed by you are the ones most threatened by the power you don't flaunt. Real light doesn't beg to be noticed. It just shines, and in doing so, it exposes everything in the shadows. That's you. Your presence is a spiritual highlighter. It shows who's hiding behind charisma, who's empty behind confidence, who's loud because they're afraid of being seen clearly. That tension you feel when you walk in isn't hostility, it's respect, masked as discomfort. They won't say it out loud, but their energy screams it. This one's different. And that difference? That's the weight of being chosen. You were never meant to blend in. Even when you try to shrink, your presence expands. Even when you try to disappear, the universe drags attention to you like a spotlight. Not for ego, but for purpose. So don't mistake their awkward silence for dislike. Don't take their side eyes and whispers as weakness. Those are symptoms of intimidation. You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to fight for space. You are the space. And when you show up, everything false starts to fall apart. That's the disruption. That's the earthquake in their nervous system. And it's not because of what you say, it's because of who you are. So keep walking in silence, chosen one. Keep holding your peace like a sword. Let them feel it. Let the ones who tried to dim you squint in discomfort. Because your presence, it was never meant to keep them comfortable. It was meant to shake them awake. Number 11. They're obsessed, stalking, and scared all at once. They don't watch you because they care. They watch you because they can't stop the rise they once laughed at. They said you were nothing, dismissed you, played games with your name, moved like they were 10 steps ahead. But now, they refresh your stories like it's the news. They scroll your feed like it's prophecy. And every post, every smile, every calm day you share rattles them. They can't figure out what's coming, but they know something is. It keeps them up at night. Your silence is louder than their gossip ever was, and that silence, it's driving them mad. You're not making noise, but the energy you're building screams through every room they walk into. Chosen one, the obsession is real. They're lurking, watching in secret, pretending not to care while taking notes like students sitting at the back of your class. Why? Because your future is whispering in their spirit. And that whisper is saying, you were wrong about them. Something powerful is coming. They feel the shift. They don't know if it's your breakthrough or their breakdown, but either way they're scared. Scared because the one they thought would stay down is rising without explanation, and the rise feels divine. Let's be clear, this kind of stalking doesn't come from curiosity. It comes from fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of you proving everything they said about you was a lie, fear of the universe rewarding you publicly. Because if you win, it confirms they were never on your level. If you rise, it proves their efforts to bury you failed. And that's a level of shame their ego isn't ready to handle. Psychologists call it monitoring behavior. When someone feels threatened by your potential, they obsessively track your progress to prepare for a blow they can't prevent. That's what they're doing now. Checking who you're with, what you're posting, how you're glowing. Because they're praying for a crack in the story. But they're not finding one. All they see is a mystery they can't decode, and that's what haunts them most. You don't have to say a word, chosen one. You don't have to prove anything. The universe already started moving mountains behind the scenes, and the fact that your enemies feel it before you even see it, that's confirmation. Their obsession is proof that your destiny is louder than your history. Keep your path clean. Keep your spirit grounded, because while they stalk you for updates, the universe is preparing to shock them with the finale. Let them keep watching. You don't owe them a trailer. The full feature is coming, and it's going to leave them speechless. Number 12. The next time they see you, they'll act different. Trust me. They mocked you when they thought you were alone. Now they fear you because the universe made it clear you were never alone. They thought there were no consequences, that they could throw shade, lie, sabotage, or laugh behind your back without ever being held accountable. But the next time they see you, their whole energy is going to shift. The smirks will vanish, the fake confidence will fade, and suddenly they'll be quiet, careful, overly polite. Some will act like nothing ever happened. Others will overcompensate with forced kindness. Why? Because they've seen too much. Not just your strength, but the consequences of disrespecting someone divinely backed. They've had dreams, flashbacks, wake-up calls, and real-life experiences they can't explain. One moment, they tried to play with you, and the next, their life started to fall apart, piece by piece. Don't be surprised if they never admit it. But trust this, they know. They felt the universe slam a door in their face. They lost opportunities, faced conflict, got exposed, and something in their gut screamed, "This is because of how you treated that person." That person was you, chosen one. See, karma doesn't need to shout, it just works. And when people cross a chosen one with bad intentions, that energy doesn't vanish, it returns, fast, precise, ruthless, and the ones who laughed loudest, they felt the loudest echo come back to them. Now they can't unsee who you are. They realize you're not ordinary, you're not weak, you're not someone to casually dismiss. You're aligned, protected, and most terrifying of all, you're just getting started. You don't need revenge. You don't even need an apology. Their changed behavior is the apology. That awkward energy when they see you again. That's guilt, embarrassment, and fear all rolled into one. They know better now. The old version of you might have let it slide, but this version glows different, walks different, and the universe shows up for you instantly. So when they suddenly start treating you better, don't fall for the performance. It's not love, it's fear. It's the fear of what happens if they ever come against you again, because the last time they tried, they lost something they weren't ready to lose. And this time, they won't risk it. You didn't have to clap back. You didn't have to beg for respect. The universe did it for you. So stand tall, chosen one. Smile. Walk with peace, and let their silence be your confirmation. You've been vindicated by something bigger than words. And the next time they see you, trust me, they'll act like they saw a ghost. And now you know, chosen one, they're not just spooked by your presence, they're haunted by their own choices. You didn't have to fight for validation, you became the evidence. Let them keep watching, guessing and shifting in discomfort. You were always the one, and now the world sees it too. If this message hit your spirit, like and subscribe to help spread this truth to other chosen ones waking up to their power. Drop 777 in the comments if you're ready to keep walking in silence while the universe speaks loud for you. And don't forget to share this with someone who needs to hear it.